Hey there. Welcome to Mike's Collection, episode 298. I'm Mike, and the part of my collection that I'm going to be talking about today is my very best, my very favorite action figures of 2023. Now, every year I do a best of list. The last few years I've done a top 20 list, so that's what I'm going to do again this year. And the way I've done it is what I used to do, kind of off camera, is I would have to either look at all the action figures I bought in a given year or look at a list of all the action figures I bought in a given year, kind of whittle it down to my top 20, and then present the top 20 to you. And oftentimes there was a lot of humming and hawing and putting somebody off the list, putting them back on. And so starting last year, I thought it might be fun for you guys to watch that process. So what I did this year is I shot 4 videos, one for each quarter. So every quarter, at the end of each quarter, I sat down with all the toys I bought in the last 3 months. And I put them on my desk, and I eliminated the ones that I did not think would be contenders for my best of the year list. So this is the last week of December. It is December 30th as I film this. And so just yesterday, I did my video of all my fourth quarter purchases, and I whittled it down to 19 figures to move forward to this video. So for this video here, I have approximately 80 figures because each quarter I tried to pare it down to 20 or less. So this might be a little less than 80 figures that I have in front of me on my desk here. So yeah, I'm going to go through it. I'm going to do a live elimination, so you guys are going to see my thought process. I really don't know who I'm going to pick. I know there's a couple here that are definitely going to make my best of the list, but a lot of it I don't know. I kind of make it up on the fly. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the process. I don't have too many rules. Basically, to qualify for this list, it has to have been released in 2023, and I have to have purchased it. So obviously, these aren't the best 20 action figures of 2023 because there are a ton that I did not get. These are just the ones that I added to my collection, and these are my favorites, that I got this year. So yeah, without further ado, I guess, why don't we flip things around and we'll take a look at the figures that are, we'll call them the nominees. So here we are. These are the top, like I said, approximately 80. I didn't really count. Some quarters, I maybe only pushed 15 figures through. The most recent one that I just shot yesterday, there was 19 figures that went through. So it's probably, maybe closer to 70 figures here. I don't know. And as you can see at first glance, it's a variety of toy lines. I collect quite a few things, but at the same time, it is kind of limited. My funds are kind of limited, so I mostly collect G.I. Joe, Marvel Legends, Transformers, Masters of the Universe, and then there's some other kind of odds and ends in here as well. So these are all the contenders. I don't know how many people out there actually sat through all 4 of my previous videos, but if you did, you would have seen me whittle away about 400 figures to get down to this kind of like top 70 or 80. However, there's a couple little things I want to mention before we dive into these guys. So in my quarter 3 video, one of the figures that I put through was the Cobra Televiper. Now, when I was doing my quarter 4 video the other day, I accidentally put him in that video as well, and he almost made it through, but ultimately I ended up eliminating him. And then when I was gathering all these figures, all the winners from my prior videos, I realized, oh, whoops, I already put Televiper through. So I could bring him back out for this video if I chose to. Here he is. And he is a great figure. Like I said, he made it through the first time, and he almost made it through yesterday before I realized that he shouldn't have been included in that video. But anyway, the fact that I took him out then, I think that just goes to show that he probably would have been one of the early ones out this time around. So I guess we can consider him our first elimination. A great figure, but yeah, he's going to go. And I got 2 figures this afternoon. So I did my final elimination video yesterday afternoon for the fourth quarter. And then I went and gathered all of these figures. I set them up on my desk. I took some pictures of them to use for the thumbnail for this video. And then I intended to sit down and do the video. But I actually went out for a couple hours this afternoon and I saw the Aquaman movie. Anyway, I came home and there was 2 packages waiting for me from Walmart with 2 of the Walmart exclusive G.I. Joe classified figures. I was reluctant to put them into this video. I kind of thought, well, maybe I'll just hold these for 2024. But I thought, no, I'm a stickler for my own rules. These figures did get released in 2023. So even though I have only had these guys out of their package for about 5 minutes, I'm going to bring them into this video here. So this here is Shadow Tracker. So this is a Cobra character that was introduced in the Pursuit of Cobra line around, I don't know, what was it, maybe 2014 or so. He was introduced in the 4-inch line. So he is not a classic character. And you can see he is pretty intense. He's pretty crazy. He's pretty, he's not hiding the fact that he is a knockoff of the Predator. He's got the dreadlocks. He's got 2 pretty crazy masks. I have him with this skull mask here. So yeah, he's basically the G.I. Joe version of the Predator. And then we've got this guy here. This is a brand new character. This guy, and his backpack has fallen off. This guy is called Wolf Spider. So he's got this, he's like, I don't know, kind of a G.I. Joe night trooper, night spotter, I guess. So he's pretty cool. He had an alternate helmet as well. My first impression of this guy isn't great. Like, he looks cool, and I was looking forward to him. But his backpack will not stay on. And he has this cool helmet here with, like, little night goggles that drop down and everything. So this would probably look pretty cool on his head, but I couldn't get it on his head. This chin strap was a bit of a struggle. So yeah, I don't know how these guys will fare on this list, because I just really haven't had time to spend to get to know them, if you will. So we'll consider them, but anyway, so they're just going to be off to the side because I don't really have room on my desk with the rest of the guys, but we'll squeeze them in there once I make a little bit more room. So usually when I display my figures for these elimination videos, I display the smaller figures up front, and they're usually the first ones that I start eliminating. Now, by the time I was doing the 4th quarter video yesterday, I don't think I put any reaction figures through. I had quite a few of them, but I was just saying that, a little 5-point of articulation reaction figure like this, as cool as it might be, just really can't compete with these larger, more detailed figures. So I've gotten a lot stricter about pushing reaction figures through. But these reaction figures that you do see here in front of you, these guys were kind of put through in the earlier videos, maybe from the 1st quarter or the 2nd quarter, before I knew how many awesome toys I was going to be getting throughout the year. So these Godzilla reaction figures. So I've got this glow-in-the-dark Godzilla, who I thought was a lot of fun, but I've got about 5 more glow-in-the-dark Godzillas since then. So he's not quite as unique. And yeah, he's definitely not going to be an action figure of the year. Same as Gigan. I was excited to get this character because I've never had an action figure of this look for Gigan before, and he's like a classic Godzilla villain. But yeah, he's not going to be a toy of the year. And then Hedorah, I've never had a toy of this guy before. He's like the sludge monster. He's really cool. I really like him. I don't think he's going to make it either. But if he did, I think I'd be more inclined to consider the glow-in-the-dark version that came out later in the year. So I think I'll let him hover around for a second, and I'm going to get rid of the classic one. Same here. This is a neat figure. I just like what it represents. This guy is he was from Super 7. He's a repaint of Cobra Commander to give us a member of the Red Shadows. And it's really neat to kind of touch on that not super well-known aspect of G.I. Joe. But yeah, again, he's got 5 points for articulation. As neat as he is, he's just not he's not a toy of the year. So we're going to get rid of him. Now, Ghost Rider, he's not a Super 7 reaction figure, but he is very similar. He's got 5 points of articulation. He's part of Hasbro's like Marvel Legends retro line. He's got a little bit more of a leg up than the other guys because he's got this cool motorcycle. He looks really cool. I doubt he's going to make it, but I might let him stick around for a little while. I've got one more reaction figure here. Now, this is one of the jumbo kind of deluxe reaction figures. This is Unicron, and it is based on the unproduced Unicron toy that we never got in the 80s, but we maybe could have. And I just think this is a really neat piece of toy history that Super 7 has given us. I'm thrilled to have this action figure in my collection, but I think, he's goofy looking, and as fun as he is, and I'm glad that we got him, he's just, I can't imagine him beating out all these awesome G.I. Joes and everything here. So, anyway, Unicron is going to go. So, still up front here, I've got two Masters of the Universe figures here. So, this is Frogmonger from the Origins line and the Filmation style Beastman. Now, I just put Beastman through yesterday in my fourth quarter video. Frogmonger is from one of the earlier videos. So maybe I have some newness bias, but I think if one of these figures was going to go through, it would be Beastman over Frogmonger. What I find appealing about Frogmonger is that he is like a new character. He was basically just a sticker in the vintage Masters of the Universe line. And so I like that Mattel has expanded on him and finally made him his own character. And like, I love when they do stuff like that. It's kind of like that Unicron, just fun little bits of toy history, little Easter eggs. So great figure, but yeah, he's not going to make it. I was very excited about Shrapnel when I first got him too, because he was like my favorite Insecticon, and we haven't had a good figure of him for like forever. So when we started getting these Insecticons, first we got Kickback. I was really excited with the prospect of getting Shrapnel, and this Shrapnel really does deliver. It's everything I want in a Shrapnel figure as far as the size and the detail and the colors and all that stuff. But he's just, I don't know, lacking in some excitement, I guess. I think my excitement for Transformers is maybe dwindling a little bit, as I just didn't get very many figures this year compared to prior years. And it kind of feels like it's maybe winding down a little bit for me as a collection. So I'm excited to get him before it did wind down, but I just don't see him being a toy of the year for me. All right, things are progressing quickly, maybe faster than I initially thought they would. So there still are a few more Transformers in here. There's Senator Ratbat, who I absolutely love. Then there's Bludgeon. This is a character I was really excited to get because we haven't had a good Bludgeon figure in forever. And then this year we got two of them. So I got this one from Hasbro, who's an actual Transformer. And then I got this one from Super 7, who is from their Ultimates line. He does not actually transform. This one looks a lot more like the vintage toy, which was bigger and blockier. This one here is kind of giving a more contemporary look. I like them both a lot. This Bludgeon figure, though, is a repaint or a retool of another figure I got this year that I really love, and that is Turn. So he's a kind of a newer Decepticon character that was introduced in the comic books by IDW, and he's great. And then behind him, maybe I'll bring him out here. This guy's name is Twincast, and this is a repaint of Blaster. Now, I love this Blaster figure. We got this guy last year, or maybe the year before, and I actually had two of him in my contention for my best of the year, because there was the standard colors, like red Blaster, and then there was also the Mirror Universe Shattered Glass kind of white and black Blaster, and I liked them both a lot. I ended up putting the red Blaster on my best of the year list. And then this guy came out this year, and I love this color scheme. The blue and yellow, and the fact that he's a new character, like as Twincast, just makes him feel a little bit more vital to my shelf. If this was just a repaint of Blaster, I might be like, I can maybe skip another Blaster. But give him a new name. Now he's a new character, and now all of a sudden he's a must-have for me. I love it, but I think because I put Blaster on my best of list last year or the year before, whatever it was, this guy, other than a fancy new color scheme, he just doesn't really bring anything new. So I loved this design the first time I saw it. I'm going to continue to love it, but I just don't think it's going to make my best of the year list again. So I think we can get rid of Twincast. And with Bludgeon, I don't know. Maybe this guy will make it through. Maybe he won't. But I don't see two Transformers with the exact same design going through. And if one of these guys is going to advance, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Turn. I do prefer that figure. So I'm going to let this Bludgeon go as well. Now, I have always loved Indiana Jones, but I have never owned an Indiana Jones toy until this year. So say what you will about the Dial of Destiny. I enjoyed it. Maybe not everybody did. It definitely wasn't the best. I was hoping for a little bit more, but I did enjoy it. And if nothing else, the release of Dial of Destiny did allow for Hasbro to release a whole new wave of Indiana Jones figures. And I think I got 6 or 7 of them this year, and I think at least 4 of them are Indiana Jones. So I got young Indiana Jones, old Indiana Jones, formal wear Indiana Jones, and like Professor Indiana Jones. And of all those figures, this is old man Indiana Jones. So this is as he appeared in Dial of Destiny, and this is the one that I pushed through. Now, that was a tough call because I really like young Indiana Jones, and those are the better movies. But I thought the likeness on this one was the best. It looked the most like Harrison Ford. And I really wish I could push this guy through to my best of the year list just because I feel like Indiana Jones as a character deserves it. And this guy could kind of represent the toy line as a whole. But just as a toy, any one of these Indiana Jones toys just on their own, I'm glad I have them. That's why I bought so many. But I just don't think they hold up as well as some of these other G.I. Joes and stuff that they're competing against. This guy, for example, his hat isn't removable. I don't know why the hats aren't removable. It wasn't removable on the younger version either. That seems like an easy thing they could have done. Anyway, sadly, Indiana Jones is going to have to go. Now that we've cleared out some room up front, I have got Wolf Spider and Shadow Tracker in here with everybody else. I'm not ready to make a decision on these guys yet. Some of the other Joes in here, Copperhead is right here in my sights, and I was really excited to get Copperhead. You know, I love Cobra Troopers like this Range Viper here, but there's something about a name, Cobra Guy. I really loved these guys as a kid, and I think this is a great version of Copperhead. The only reason I think I'm going to have to cut him is because I have so many other great Joes, and I talk about it all the time on this channel. But as a kid, me and my older brother Doug, you know, we shared a bedroom and we shared all of our toy collections. So he collected half of all of our toy lines, and I collected the other half. And Copperhead was one of Doug's characters when we were kids, so he owned the vintage Copperhead. So I lack a little bit of a personal attachment to this character just because I never got to play with him when I was young. So great update to Copperhead. I like this figure a lot, but he's gonna go. Now, Duke, this is a tough one. I love this Duke sculpt. I know some people didn't because it looked a little too different from the classic, like the vintage Duke of old. See if I can get him out here without knocking anybody over. There we go. So yeah, this is the second version of this Duke. We got the first version, I think, in 2020, and that figure was actually my number one toy of the year in 2020. I like this design and this sculpt that much. And I didn't even like Duke all that much as a kid. I just thought this was such a cool new version of him. So yeah, it's kind of like with Blaster. I loved it the first time I saw it, so I just kind of always will love it, and I think I'm always going to have to at least consider it. So yeah, I really think he looks good in these Tiger Force colors, but considering I already had this guy top my list a couple of years ago, I don't know if I can really put him on the list again. Other than the paint deco, you know, he's not really bringing anything new to the table. It's still a super solid figure in my opinion, but I'm going to let Tiger Force Duke go. I really don't know where to go from here. It's going to start getting a lot tougher, I think. So many great figures here. You know what? This guy here, so this is War Duke from the Dungeons and Dragons line. Let me see if I can move some of these guys so we can get a better look at them. There was a lot of people online that were really excited about this figure. And he is super cool. Like, he's very detailed. He's big. He's got cool accessories. He's well articulated. Look at that flaming sword. He is awesome. And I was never a big Dungeons and Dragons guy, and even fantasy in general. I'm not like huge on, you know, swords and sorcery and all that sort of stuff. So I bought this guy, and he is cool, but I think I got a little bit wrapped up in the hype about how some other YouTubers like Dan Larson loved this thing so much and almost guaranteed it was going to be his toy of the year, you know, when he first opened them up. And like, he's awesome. I get it. But I think some people just have more of an attachment to Dungeons and Dragons than I do. Great figure, but compared to all these GI Joes and stuff and Marvel characters that I grew up reading and playing with, I just don't think Warduke is going to cut it. So he might be a controversial cut because I know a lot of people love this figure, but yeah, he's going to go. And let's see, what else we got here? Got a couple Action Force figures here. So we've got, this is Eclipse. She's great. And then we've got Pandora. And I got two Pandoras this year. This is the bloody variant version. And this is the version that I chose to put through. She looks great with all that blood splatter all over her. And then there's another one over here. This is Kill Switch. I didn't expect to like this one as much as I do, but that's just a great head sculpt and just a great color palette on the whole figure. So she was kind of an unexpected surprise. All right, you know what? These guys are going to go. I'm sorry. I do love it. It's great design. He looks so much fun with all those bright colors on him and stuff. But yeah, Toy of the Year, no. And Ghost Rider 2, really fun figure. Great little motorcycle. But I'm going to have to let him go as well. So I'm not ready to make a move on any of the Action Force figures yet. But you know what? I think I am just going to go ahead and get rid of Wolf Spider. I wish I had more than kind of 5 minutes to play with him and get a sense of if he's a good figure or not. I do like the design of him. I like the night vision goggles. I wish I could have got his helmet on and his backpack. I wish that stayed on. But for those reasons, since he seems a little, I don't know, a little fiddly, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, he's going to go. He's not a favorite of the year. Tunnel Rat, a great figure. This is another one that my brother Doug had when we were kids, so I again kind of lack that childhood attachment, but this is just a really strong figure. The Range Viper. I've actually got two Range Vipers in here for contention. This red and black one, he was part of the His Tank like support team, and then there is the blue and gray one, which is like the original colors. Both are so good. Some Marvel Legends in here. You know what? I thought this guy here, Puff Adder, he was a Build-A-Figure, and I really like the design. And I'm eager to complete my Serpent Society eventually. We are slowly getting members of the snake-based supervillain team. So yeah, he was an easy one to push through early in the year, but I don't really have any attachment to this particular character of the Serpent Society, even though it's a cool figure. He's got that great head sculpt with, his kind of human face poking out of the snake mouth. I think I'm going to let him go as well. So with Puff Adder gone, we can see a couple of cool new toys back there. So there's my Clear Tigra from Super 7's Thundercats. There's Dracula from NECA. That's the Destroyer from Hasbro's Marvel Legends. We got McFarlane's Monolith, Super 7 Godzilla. I've got 3 Super 7 Ultimate Godzillas in here. So I've got, this is the Shogun Godzilla. I've got the standard Godzilla. And I've got the San Diego Comic-Con bloody comic book variant Godzilla. I've seen a lot of reviews about Super 7's Ultimates and how they, didn't live up to the hype and all that stuff. They're not perfect, but I love them. Each one of them has been great, actually. I'm still not going to collect this line as a completist, but like I didn't buy the Flaming Godzilla or the Mecha Godzilla that came out. But Wave 3, which is Destroya and 1200 Degree Godzilla, I think he's called. Anyway, I pre-ordered both of those, and those are in the mail right now. So I'm looking forward to getting a couple more of these Godzillas very soon. I can't imagine all 3 of them are going to go, especially because this Godzilla is just a repaint of this Godzilla. You'll notice they have different mouths, but both of them had different heads. So there's a head with a closed mouth and an open mouth. So this guy, I've got the closed mouth on, but I could give him the roaring face if I wanted to. There's a couple of G.I. Joes here. So Outback and Rock and Roll. A couple of great bearded G.I. Joe manly men. I put them through for a reason. I think they're great. Really great details. Rock and Roll's got all kinds of tats on his arm. I don't know if you can see there. And Outback, he's got lots of orange hair on his arms. Anyway, these guys are cool, but both of them are characters that my brother Doug owned when we were kids. And yeah, I think just kind of for that reason, I don't have that same childhood attachment to them that I do other characters, like say Snake Eyes here. So I think I'm going to get rid of these fellas. So let's take another look at the back row there. So we've got Strife from Marvel Legends. He's a pretty cool figure. Then we've got this big guy here, the Super Adaptoid. Drax looks great. This here's the medieval Spawn from McFarlane Toys. He's really cool too. But I don't know. I don't see me putting two Spawn figures through, and I think if one of them is going to go, it would be Monolith that I would advance to my best of. So I think I'm going to let Medieval Spawn go, although it's not an easy cut. It's a cool figure, and look, he's got all kinds of cool accessories, and like look at that boot. How cool is that? This guy's got more skulls per capita than any other figure on here, I think. Anyway, very cool. Now you'll see back here, I have one of the Super 7 Black Hole reaction figures for Vincent. So all of these Black Hole figures were really cool, and look at that packaging. The packaging is so great. That's why I haven't opened him up yet. But I kind of have a rule about not putting, I can't put a carded figure on my best of the year list just because I haven't had a chance to handle it or play with it. I think the reason I put him through earlier this year was because I thought I was eventually going to open these figures, but I haven't as of yet. And he looks awesome. I'm super stoked to have this figure because I had a toy just like this when I was a kid, and I got rid of it, and I always regretted it. So thrilled to get him back into my collection. Love the packaging, but because the packaging is so damn good, that's why he can't qualify for my best of the year list because I can't bring myself to open him up. So I think I'm going to have to eliminate him. Who else haven't we talked about? Yondu, so from the Guardians of the Galaxy. Love this guy. As much as I appreciate the modern Guardians of the Galaxy that the movies are about, I grew up reading about the original team, which included Yondu here, and I love that we got this figure. Terrax, it looks like he's getting a shoulder massage from Godzilla, or not Godzilla, Grimlock back there. Terrax is great. Grimlock, he's another one of Super 7 Ultimates, just like Legend over here. Let me see, Bishop, Mutt with his dog Junkyard. We have the Hiss Driver, Desert Snake Eyes. So we have two Snake Eyes here still. So the Desert one, which is something original that we've never seen before. And then we've got the Commando Retro one, which is supposed to be a throwback to the original 1982 Snake Eyes figure, which I think it does very well. We've also got Torpedo and Helix, Shooter, Shockwave. Man, there's still a lot of figures here I haven't addressed yet. What are we going to do here? Spidey. Such a good Spidey. I think a Spider-Man has made my list every year for the last few years. Last year, I think it was black and white suit Spidey. Before that, it was a classic red and blue. This one here is the Ben Reilly version of Spider-Man in his Beyond outfit. It's just so good. Like, I have so many Spider-Man in my collection, but there's a reason for that. They just keep making great Spider-Man. And I love when the figure looks just like an artist's artwork. And there's something about the eye shape of these guys. It just looks like Patrick Gleason's artwork leapt right off the page. I love it. So it's a strong contender. You know what? This one I thought was for sure going to make my best of the year list. This is Red Sonja from, I think the company was called Loose Collector. And I was just so excited to get a Red Sonja figure. She is a cool character who does not get nearly enough merchandise or action figures. So it was cool to get her. Now, she was more expensive than I think she should have been, but I understand it's a small company, so I give them a little bit more leeway with that. But having paid a premium price, she does have some flaws. Her face is good, but I don't think it's great. Her eyes are like a little far apart. I think she reads as a little bit older than I would like her to. Also, these seams here where her legs connect to her torso are pretty unsightly. Anyway, just because of the character alone, I thought she would absolutely advance. But I think the fact that Boss Fight Studio has now announced that they are doing a 6-inch Red Sonja figure that's coming out in 2024, and the renders of that figure look so good. I know when I get that figure, it will like trump this figure as the best Red Sonja figure in my collection. So she kind of got knocked down a few pegs because of that announcement. So you know what? I'm actually going to remove Red Sonja here. The Scrap Iron. I don't think we talked about him yet. This is really cool because this is a G.I. Joe character who has a removable helmet for the first time ever, and you can see his scarred up face. Shooter. She's a character that I really love. Great figure. Oh man, things are getting tough. Things are getting tough. You know, I think I'm going to have to let Tunnel Rat go. And again, this is the curse of my brother Doug striking again. Tunnel Rat, so good. But I didn't have that attachment to him as a kid. Like, just so you know, there are some toys here that I did have as a kid. For example, Mutt. I have a strong childhood attachment to him. And I'll do a bit of a spoiler here. Shockwave was my absolute favorite G.I. Joe. As soon as I got him, he went right up to the top for me. And this figure is absolutely going to go ahead into my best of the year list. So, of all the figures here, that's the only one that I know with 100% certainty is going to be on that list. But yeah, Tunnel Rat here. I think he's got to go. So I rearranged things here a little bit because I'm going to make some tough calls here. This Ultimates Grimlock, it's so cool. It looks like he just came right out of the cartoon. The fact that he doesn't transform is not a bad thing, I don't think, because it allows them to really capture that animated look. I was so looking forward to this figure, but I think I just lost excitement for the Ultimates Transformer line in general. Like, I originally had some of the Wave 3 figures pre ordered, but I ended up canceling them. In part, they're just too damn expensive. And then to find that they went on sale later in the year, like even this figure, I think I could have got at a discount if I had just waited like 3 months before I bought it. And that just kind of does suck the fun out of it. Maybe it shouldn't be a factor here. And another thing with this figure is Super 7 put out a reaction figure of this Grimlock a year prior, and I thought it looked so good, even though it was quite a bit smaller. And I said the only reason it's not going through is because I'm getting this figure this year, and I thought for sure this would make my best of the year list. So I didn't want to put Grimlock on there twice. But I think the reaction figure actually looks better as far as capturing the animated look. This guy's face is just a little too narrow. I like the wider set face of the reaction figure. So anyway, just because this guy, you know, he's got to go. What can I say? Somebody does. So Grimlock's going to be eliminated. And I just got this guy on Boxing Day. I really love this Godzilla. I think he is, like, he's just goofy looking. He's fun. He's got a fist. You press that button there, and his fist goes flying off. You push this button on the back of his head, and the flame comes out of his mouth. So the reason all that works the way it does is because this is a recreation of the first official Godzilla figure that was ever available for sale in the United States as part of the Shogun Warriors line. So it's really great for people that had that figure as a kid to be able to get this recreation of that figure that's really hard to get nowadays. But being honest, I've always loved Godzilla, but I never had the Shogun figure. That was before my time. So I can appreciate it for what it is, but I just don't have that childhood attachment to this that I think I would need to push it forward. So yeah, these guys are both going to go. In that same batch of eliminations, I was going to get rid of this Godzilla too. I was just going to make that tough decision and say I'm not going to put both Godzillas through, and I think this guy is just more unique. I don't have any Godzillas that look like this in my collection with that like bloody mouth and that bright green paint job that's right out of the comic books. Plus, he comes with a fun little accessory and a little screaming man in his hands there. But I don't know. I had to change my mind at the last second. I have to think that if I only had one Godzilla toy in my whole collection, would I want this one or would I want this one? And I like this one as it's more true to how Godzilla appears in the movies. And maybe partly I like the closed mouth head better too. So maybe it's not really fair. Maybe I should have put the closed mouth head on the other green one, so I'm truly comparing apples to apples. But anyway, I'm not ready to make a cut there just yet. Oh, okay. I don't know if I talked about Chun Li yet or the Rocketeer. Really, they are they're a little different scale than most of the other figures here, but they're both so good. Look at that Rocketeer. That's fantastic. All right, scrap iron. As much as I love you, buddy, and like let's take a look at that head without the helmet on. If I can do it with one hand here, I don't know if I can. Nope, couldn't do it with one hand. But look at this guy. That looks so good. It's a shame to let him go, but I just have to. There's too many other good figures here. All right, this is another tough cut because he's so bright and colorful. Like, look at this shot here. He stands out above everybody else. Well, maybe Beastman, but like Bludgeon just looks so great there. Sure, he's big and blocky, and his articulation isn't very good, but it's just it's really cool. And it's a great update to that vintage Bludgeon toy, but I think the articulation is maybe just a little too hindered. Like if he could, that's about as high up as he can lift his arms, which is kind of a bummer for a guy that should be a martial artist. Uh, I really love it, but yeah, sometimes the material that he's made of feels a little cheap too. Some of his joints are a little cheap, and considering how expensive he was, he shouldn't feel cheap in any way. So again, kind of like with that Grimlock, I think the money just factors into it a little bit with these guys. When you make me pay a lot of money, I expect brilliance, and yeah, this guy's just got a couple of shortcomings that I think I gotta let him go. Okay, I'm not sure how many I'm down to here now. We're making progress, but we still got quite a ways to go. So, who here? I think I'm gonna have to make the decision. I'm just gonna have to let this Range Viper go. I love this color scheme on this guy. He looks so badass. Get him out here. Like, look at this guy. The black skull with the red behind it almost looks like it's like flaming through that skull and the brain on there. And even that little like bandana around his neck somehow makes him look more menacing. It's just a really cool figure, but I think I'm going to go with the classic version. There's something about that bright blue and those red eyes too that's also super creepy. So yeah, that guy's going to I'm going to go ahead and say it and say he's going to advance for sure. He's on my top 20 list. But to do that, I'm going to have to let the red and black version go. So see you later, Range Viper. All right, so I've gone ahead and pulled both my G.I. Joe Frogmen out front because I think one of them is going to go. So we've got the Cobra Eel. So this is the evil Cobra Frogman. And then we've got Torpedo. So this is the G.I. Joe team's original Frogman. Now, I'll tell you, my brother Doug had both of these guys when we were kids. I didn't get a diver until Wetsuit came out, the second Frogman for G.I. Joe. So I have a stronger attachment to him. Both these guys look great, but they share a lot of the same parts, same weapons, and everything. So it's really the faces that kind of set them aside. Now, both of them have removable masks. Let's take a quick look at them without their helmets on here. So you can see here, Torpedo's got like a real face under there. And it's a really nice face sculpt. He looks like a real guy. And then with the Cobra Eel, he's got just kind of a standard masked face there. I love both these guys, but I think I'm going to go ahead and say Torpedo is a lock. This is just a really strong figure. I was super excited about this guy as soon as I got him, and I think I'm going to have to eliminate the eel. Okay, so I'm running long here as per usual. I really want to speed things up so this video does not go over an hour. So I pulled my locks out so far. So it's only been 3, and they've all been G.I. Joes. So the Range Viper, Torpedo, and Shockwave are the 3 that I've committed to my best of 2023. So maybe what I'll do is I'm going to pull a couple other figures that I know are going to go through. There's a couple figures that as soon as I got them, I knew they were going to advance. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Agent Helix, another G.I. Joe that I love. Throw her over here. Senator Ratbat. So he is one of the best Transformers I've gotten in years, I think. Partly because I was just hungry for a Rat Bat figure, and I love this version of him from the comic books. And they just, he looks perfect. So yeah, he's going through. Uh, I'm gonna go ahead and say Turn is a lock as well. I think that's 6. And I haven't really talked about him here, but this Dracula from NECA, he's so good. He's a lock as well. Pandora here, this is another one that I knew was going to make my list. As soon as we saw renders of this figure, I knew I was going to love her. My number one figure last year was Zarana, and she's kind of like the punk rock girl of G.I. Joe. And I feel that this is Action Force's version of Zarana, and she looks great. And the bloody variant just made her even better. So yeah, she's a lock for sure. And I thought Eclipse possibly would be as well. Um, her I don't know, her eyes are just a little too dead looking. She lacks personality. Now they did do a second version of her later in the year, which I didn't push through, called Warpath Eclipse, which was almost too intense. So she went from this kind of dead-eyed look to this screaming face with war paint all over her. And I actually thought that one was a little bit too intense. I'd like my characters to be a little more neutral, but this is a little too neutral. So yeah, great figure. Love the design, but she's gonna go. Kill Switch is still up for debate. Again, she's got kind of weird eyes too, but they look good on this figure for some reason. Okay. Yeah. This is getting tough. All right, you know what? Chuckles. Chuckles is great. He's the G.I. Joe undercover officer. This guy has a lot of fun accessories and stuff with him. You can see he's got the lei around his neck. He's got a briefcase full of stuff. He's got sunglasses and everything. Uh, he's a character that was really great in the comic books. My brother Doug had him when we were kids, so I think for that reason, and it's not that it's not like I have something against my brother Doug or anything. I love the guy, so it's not about that. It's just I really didn't get to have that same personal attachment to this character. So yeah, I think I'm going to eliminate Chuckles. Now these two Marvel Legends here, I don't know much about uh, Bishop, and I know even less about Clea. I know a little bit. I've been reading Marvel comic books consistently since I was 8 years old, so I've definitely read comic books with these guys. But I'm not a big Bishop fan, and I'm not a big Doctor Strange fan, so I haven't read a whole lot of about Clea, who's essentially his girlfriend or whatever. But these figures are just so well done. I've said it before, but I think these are probably the two best looking action figures that I bought this year, as far as like human faces and the sculpts and the paint combined just make for a couple of a very pretty couple there. So I don't know if that alone is enough to make an action figure be my best of the year. Because as you can see, a lot of it is about my personal attachment to these characters, and it shouldn't just be because I think they're attractive. So what do I do here? You know what? I know this is an unpopular opinion. Every review I saw of these Super 7 figures said that the initial Godzilla wasn't great, but they improved a lot of it with this San Diego version. But going back to what I said before, I love how this guy looks because he's something different. But, at this stage, I don't have a bunch of Super 7 Godzillas. Maybe a year or two from now when I have like 5 or 6 of these guys and this guy seems kind of boring to me. But right now, I love the look of this guy. So I'm going to say this Godzilla is a lock, and I'm going to let go of the San Diego version. Any other cuts I can make while we're here? I think I'm going to get rid of Strife. Strife is cool and all. I was really excited to get this figure because I missed out on the first one they released. Um, but yeah, he's a doofus of a character anyway. Like he looks cool, but he's kind of silly. So I think we'll get rid of him too. Okay, so I've got my locks over here, of which I think there are now 9. So by my count, I still have to get rid of 13 more figures over here. That's going to be tough. Ugh. And I'm really getting stuck here now. Um, this guy, partly because he's just the biggest guy left. I think he looks impressive. He looks like he should be one of my better toys just because he's so big and impressive. He's got such great sculpted textures and everything on the costume. Like, look at that. All the different areas have a different texture. It's a really nice figure. I just, I don't know. I don't have much of an attachment to this character. I was about to eliminate him, but now I'm not sure. And Drax, I didn't expect to like him as much as I do, but like that face sculpt is just so good. Terax, I got him I think in January this year, so he's held on tight since the beginning of the year. I think he's just a really cool looking figure. Yondu, the Destroyer, look how great he is. Green Goblin is one of my all-time favorite characters, and this one here, it's based on the '90s cartoon, which one of my all-time favorite action figures of all time is the Toy Biz Green Goblin figure from the '90s cartoon. I actually don't think this Goblin is as good as the Toy Biz one that was created in the '90s, but it's a noble effort, and it definitely reminds me of that toy. And it's definitely the best Green Goblin that we've gotten in the Marvel Legends line so far. The first ones were pretty disappointing. Uh, you know what? I love the Snow Serpent. This is a Cobra Trooper that I had as a kid, and this is one I was really looking forward to in the modern line. I think the problem with him is he just has almost too much stuff. And you don't have to give it all. Like he's got snowshoes on here, but he also has a snowboard that I don't have in use here. The original version in the '80s didn't have this like wolf skin hood and shawl that this guy is wearing. This like cape. It looks cool. You know, you can remove it if you don't want it, but when I get these parts, I want to display them on my figures, and this guy just ends up being too busy. I think if I was a kid and I wanted to play with this guy, I would. It's just he falls apart. Something's always falling off of him. It's just yeah. I'm surprised that I'm going to eliminate this guy, but I am going to. So and yeah, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say that this clear Tigra is a lock. This guy is really cool. I really wanted the original, like the normal painted Tigra figure. I thought he looked so good when Super 7 revealed their renders of him, and I pre-ordered it, and then the real version came out, and I thought the paint was really ugly. It did not match up to the render that they, pitched us. So I canceled my pre-order, and I was really disappointed to not be able to get that Tigra. But then this clear version came out, which my wife got me for Christmas, and that solves the paint problem, obviously, because he doesn't really have any paint. And yeah, it is a really nice sculpt. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and say this character, he's going ahead because he's pretty unique. So he's a lock. Um, but I'm supposed to be eliminating people, not locking them in here. You know what? Of the two Snake Eyes here, I probably should like this one better, but there's just something kind of fun about this desert Snake Eyes. I don't know if he's going to make it to the end, but I think I'm going to go ahead and pull the plug on classic retro Snake Eyes. It's a great figure. Obviously, it made it pretty close to my best of the year list, but yeah, he's just not going to make it all the way through. All right, I'm going to make an executive decision here. These pretty people are both going to go. And the reason I'm cutting Clea, even though I think she might have the best head sculpt and best paint job of any action figure I got this year, is the rest of the figure. There's nothing really new there. It's kind of a plain body. And she's falling over constantly. You'll notice she's leaning over here. In my last video, I had to keep picking her up. She kept knocking everybody over. So, other than a pretty face sculpt, like there's just not a lot of great engineering with the figure or anything like that. Um, Like she has, let me see here, single jointed elbows and all that stuff. Like that's just some older articulation. She does have double jointed knees at least. So yeah, it's really tough to cut this figure because, like I said, it is a beautiful paint job and everything on here. But I think I'm going to let her go. And if Clea goes, well then tough luck, Bishop. You're not sticking around. So, because yeah, he was getting by on his looks alone. I really don't like the character of Bishop very much. Great looking figure, but not best of the year for me. Uh, duh, duh, duh. I'm excited that we got Shooter. I'm not going to go into her background if you're not familiar with her, but I talked about it in the video where I reviewed her, so you can go find that if you want. But great figure, really bent gun, so that works against her. But ultimately, I think she's just got to go because I got to clear some people out of here. I got to stop wasting your time. Um, you know what, Shadow Tracker, you're cool and all, and who knows, maybe if I got to spend a little bit more time with you, I would feel justified putting you on this list. But considering you just got here, um, yeah, very cool. I'm glad we got this guy. Looking forward to playing with him a little bit more in the future, but he's not going to be my best of 2023. So he's going to go. Ugh. Like I don't want my whole list to be GI Joes, but if it happens to be that I love these GI Joes more than anybody else, then what are you going to do about it? I love that Hawk. Mutt is really great. Although I probably would have eliminated Mutt if not for Junkyard. I think the fact that he's got this really great dog with him really kind of elevates him. The Hiss Trooper, I haven't really mentioned it, but I kind of consider the fact that he came with the Hiss tank as an accessory, so to speak. Like I love this character and this figure anyway, but he's got a whole Hiss tank behind him, kind of elevating him too. So that really kind of makes him a little more of a weighty decision than just a standard figure. I like that Desert Snake Eyes a lot. Uh, and I keep kind of thinking, like, well, I don't need another Spider Man on my list, but every time I see this guy, it makes me smile. That's such a good Spider Man. And then these guys I like because they're something different. They're different scales. They're not my usual thing, but that's not a reason to keep them. Like, I do love them, but if I love a G.I. Joe or a Marvel Legend more, and yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna let the Rocketeer go. I love this whole collection of figures from Fresh Monkey Fiction. There was a whole series of Rocketeer and his enemies and stuff. But I just think because it's such a simple style of figure, it's too hard to compete against figures like this. It looks so great. And maybe if it was like my first Rocketeer figure, I think if that was the case, I would put him through. But I have quite a few Rocketeers now. I have a 6-inch detailed one. I have a 12-inch like cloth one. I have a reaction figure. I have a Funko Pop. So I have no shortage of Rocketeers. This guy might be the best one, but I think I'm going to let him go. You know what? I thought Monolith might be a lock for me until, and I'll show you this, and this might be what I need to remind myself of to eliminate him. Is as cool as this guy looks in the comic books, he's got this red body, but it's a little unclear if it's skin or cloth. With the action figure, it is very clearly skin. You can see his veins and everything all through there. And then when you get down to his crotch, what is going on here? Like, what is this guy wearing exactly? Like, he looks like a big, mean monster, and he looks like Spawn, just all bulked up like the Hulk. But when you realize that I think that red stuff is just his bare skin, it looks like he's wearing like a little Borat bathing suit here. And it really kind of diminishes his cool factor when you consider that. So I do love this figure, but ever since I saw that, it's very hard to unsee it. Uh, what to do? What to do? Considering letting go of General Hawk. I don't know. I don't know. These are all great figures. Let me do a little recalibration here. I got to see how many figures I still need to eliminate. So I still need to eliminate 6 figures from this collection here. I'm going to have to start getting pretty nitpicky. Desert Snake Eyes, I think this is a really cool figure. But what bothers me is that they use the commando style mask. You know, he looks like he's in commando mode here, which I'm fine with. That's the Snake Eyes I actually prefer. And yet they gave him his little kind of ninja like sock boots instead of the combat boots that could be found on the retro Snake Eyes that I already eliminated. So if I bring retro Snake Eyes back in here for a second, so you can see they have the same style head. But then he's got these lace up military boots. And I think if this guy had those boots on, he would get through. But I just think that just doesn't quite match up for me. And the lack of boots is Snake Eyes' demise. So he's going to go. And I really was considering eliminating the Hiss Driver. As much as I loved the vintage toy, and I think the like 4-inch remake from 2008 was even better, I don't know if this quite delivers. I don't know. There's something that seems a little off to me. Maybe it's that split in his visor is throwing me a little bit. Um, I don't know. I do love it. I love the colors. I love this character. He's got a Hiss tank. Ugh. Anyway, you know what? So I'm gonna get rid of Snake Eyes here, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get rid of Monolith. So then we'll just need to get rid of 4 more. When I look over here at my contenders compared to my locks, this definitely seems like a much darker crowd over here. These guys will definitely add some color to the mix. Um, I'll be honest, I really like this figure, and I was really thrilled with them. But I have watched a couple other people's like best of the year lists, and I've seen a couple of people name him as one of the worst figures or biggest disappointments this year. Partly because he's a reuse of a 12-inch Captain America figure, and also because of the price. This guy was like almost $100, which seems crazy. Um, but yeah, he looks really good. Like he's a lot of fun. I haven't talked a whole lot about Doctor Octopus because I just got him for Christmas, so I haven't really had time to play with him much either. I'm not a huge Doctor Octopus fan, partly because he's usually portrayed in the comic books as kind of a frumpy guy in green tights. And I really thought this look that they gave him in the animated series in the 90s was close enough to his classic design. They kept that kind of like bowl cut and everything, but they slimmed him up a little bit. They gave him this armor. It was a really cool look without being a radical redesign. And I have, I think, 2 Dr. Octopus figures in my collection, but both of them have pre-posed tentacles, which really sucks. The fact that you can bend this guy's tentacles, you can actually bend them so they suspend him up in the air and everything. It's really cool. So that's why he's still here. Um, Mutt, he's brand new to me too. I just got him for Christmas as well. It is a really nice design, and it's very faithful to the vintage figure. And he had some different display options. You can put the goggles on his face. He also has a mask, which I haven't put on him at all yet. That might actually make him look even cooler. I don't know. I feel some of these Marvel Legends have got to go here. That Green Goblin, his teeth are kind of weird, but he's kind of fun and maniacal. Uh, kills me to do this, but I think I'm going to let General Hawk go. Just because somebody's got to go. But he's so great with that bomber jacket and the white streak in his hair and everything. Ah, but do I like him better than I like Mutt? I don't know. Again, I think I like Hawk better than Mutt, but Junkyard is so good. We've never had an articulated Junkyard before. Like this guy's got, look at all the articulation on this guy. He's got the vest. I think he even has a swappable head. Maybe I can't remember now. I think he has a less angry face. Um, yeah, so he's great. Now I got a lot of big bad guys here between Terrax and the Destroyer. Uh, Too tough. And I know I'm being silly. This is a totally inconsequential decision that doesn't matter to anybody in the world but me, but still, I think about this stuff all year as I'm buying these figures. Like, ooh, this guy could be my best of the year list. And now that I'm here, it's like, and then a bunch of figures show up at the end of the year and kind of throw a wrench into my plans. All right, you know what? I'm gonna have to think about it for a second, but I won't make you guys watch me think. I'm gonna cut away for a second and I'll make some decisions. All right. So I hummed and hawed for several minutes here, but I've made some tough decisions. The Green Goblin, despite him being one of my all-time favorite characters in fiction anywhere, this face just isn't quite right for me. I like it, but it's just the competition is too fierce. So he's going to go. Hawk, I don't even know why I'm letting him go. This is a super solid figure. I love this character. I love the look, but it's just somebody's got to go. Um, Yondu, I'm really, really surprised because as soon as this guy was announced, I basically knew he was a lock for my best of the year list. I think if there's one reason why he's going, it's because it's not my preferred look. This is his look from like more like the 70s, whereas I grew up reading the Guardians of the 90s. So I kind of wish he had a different costume on. Um, and some of that articulation around his shoulders and stuff for considering it's his bare skin, like that would look weird on any character, but when he doesn't have any like jacket or anything to hide it, it looks a little strange. So it pains me to do so, but Yondu is going to go. And lastly, it was going to be Mutt. But I thought, you know what? Is it fair for me to eliminate a figure that I haven't even really fully got a chance to handle or appreciate yet? So I tried him out here with his goggles and his mask, which is pretty cool. And I also gave Junkyard his happy face instead of his snarling face. And yeah, I think the fact that this guy has these other display options, it just adds another level to him. So he's going to stick around. And it's tough for me to do this, but I think I'm going to get rid of the Super Adaptoid. Um, like he's got a lot more going on with him than say the Destroyer, but the Destroyer just feels so nice and solid. He's got a great design, and that's what he looks like in the comic book. So it's very effective. This guy here looks really good too. Um, I think there is one thing that bothered me about this toy from the get go, and there is something that somebody else said in one of the other videos that now that I heard it kind of bums me out as well. But this guy here, if I bring him up front, so he comes with Thor's hammer, which is cool. And he also comes with Cap's shield. But you can't get the shield around his arm. There's a second strap here that should fit around his forearm, but he's got these points on his glove like this that you can't get the shield around. So I've kind of got the shield resting around his wrist, but otherwise that other strap is just kind of floating around loose, so the shield doesn't really sit right, and that seems like a pretty blatant oversight. The other thing that somebody mentioned is that on the Captain America figure that this figure is based on, this star was removable, so there was a hole there so you could plug in like his shield so you could store it on his back. I don't know why they took that option away from this figure. It would have been nice to be able to store the shield, especially since he can't carry it properly. But also, they mentioned that in the comic books, since this guy adapts all of the Avengers powers and properties, that he has the wasp's wings sometimes. And so they thought you could have very easily given the wings that could plug into that hole on the back of this figure. But rather than give us the plug and the wings and the shield storage, they just plugged the hole. And so that seems like kind of an oversight, especially considering they charged us so much for this figure. So I'm sorry, Super Adaptoid, but you are going to go. So here they are, my top 20 in no particular order. So we've got Torpedo from G.I. Joe, Dracula from NECA, the Destroyer from Marvel Legends from Hasbro, Drax from Marvel Legends, Super 7's Ultimates Tigra, the invisible version. We got Pandora from Valor vs. Action Force. We got Mattel's Beastman from their Filmation Masters of the Universe Origins line. Mutt from Hasbro's G.I. Joe Classified. Another Action Force figure in Killswitch. Marvel Legends Terrax. Marvel Legends Dr. Octopus. G.I. Joe Classified Hiss Driver. Chun-Li from Street Fighter. And the company's name I'm blanking on right now. We also get Junkyard. He's with Mutt. Spider-Man from Marvel Legends. Shockwave, G.I. Joe Classified. Range Viper, G.I. Joe Classified. Helix, G.I. Joe Classified. Godzilla from Super 7's Ultimates. And then a couple of Transformers. Senator Ratbat and Turn. Did I say Dr. Octopus? Terrax? So I think that's everybody. Now, this video has already gone way too long. I'm going to have to try and edit it down. So if you're curious to see how these guys actually rank from number 20 to number 1, I'm going to do a much shorter video that more people are likely to watch and tune in for. Just a quick best of the year list. So you can tune in for that one if you're curious about how I would rank these guys. But until then, just thank you very much for watching, and let's wrap this up. Okay, so that was my best of 2023. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. That's always appreciated. And please leave me comments below. I say that every video. I get a handful of comments. But with this one here, I'm really interested in your comments. I'd really like to know what your top 10 favorite figures were. Would you agree out of the collection that I had that the ones I picked were worthy of a top 20 list? Or is there different decisions you would have made? I'm always curious about that stuff. So please leave me comments. Anyway, so yeah, like, subscribe, come back soon for another video because I have lots of new stuff lined up. I'm sure 2024 is going to be another crazy year for action figures. There's already a whole lot of cool pre-orders that are either already in the mail for me right now or that I know are coming very soon. So yeah, I'll be back to review some of that new stuff in the coming weeks. So yeah, I'll catch you next time. Ciao.